All right, Chair O'Connell, we're live.
Thank you, Jason. Tim O'Connell, Chair of the Utility Board. I'll call the meeting to order. Who's going to conduct the roll?
I'll conduct the roll.
All right,
Chair O'Connell,
I'm here.
Vice Chair Milton,
Present.
Board Member Majewski,
I'm here.
Board Member Marshall,
I'm here.
Board Member Picorni,
Will, you're muted.
he's here, but maybe he's not hearing you. Will, can you hear us? I'll message him. I'll message him separately here and get him squared away, but we'll let the record show that he's here. And then Board Member Quantz.
Present.
And then Board Member Lair. It's not.
Well, we have a quorum, and Brother Picorni, are you still able to not hear us, or can you hear us now? No, I see no indication of. Are you messaging? Yeah, okay. Let me suggest to William log off and log back on.
Yep.
Still only 5:04, so we're doing fine.
Can you see my messages?
Sorry, I can hear you. Yeah, I was having audio issues, but I can hear you now.
Okay, very good, great.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a quorum. William, we noted for the record your presence.
Thanks. Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and get going? I'll call for public appearances if there are any. I see no one else. And all participants on the Zoom are accounted for on my screen, so I'm assuming there's no public appearances. Regular business, I'll call for approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
Yeah, they look great. I'll accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Vice Chair Milton, so move. Second?
I second it.
I heard William first. So that's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. First item, let's take the first item of business, the EMS rate discussion. I know pursuant to Jason's email, we have additional business to add to the agenda, but let's take it in order first. And the first item is the EMS rate recommendations for next year. Who's going to start us off from staff for that?
I'm going to actually go ahead and introduce Ben Schumacher, our financial analyst, and I'll let him take the reins on this one. Ben, it's all yours.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jason. Good evening, Utility Board. It's good to virtually meet you. My name is Ben Schumacher, like Jason said, financial analyst here with the city. So I don't have a presentation for you tonight, but I will just walk you through the rate memo that was shared last week as it outlines the EMS utility tax rate change for 2023. So when we're talking about the EMS utility tax rate, this is the tax associated with the bi-monthly utility bill to provide additional EMS response capacity within the city. These rates are based off the average fully burdened cost of 4 firefighters from the year 2022. And that amount this time is just under $678,000. So this represents a 5.54% increase from 2021. Staff's actually recommending a 5.43% increase in 2023. And that's slightly lower than that 5.54% because it's spread out over more equivalent living units compared to the prior year. So page 2 of the memo just outlines what that 5.43% translates to in actual dollar amounts based on customer class for a bi-monthly bill.
Pretty straightforward. Any discussion? Questions for Ben?
Yeah, I had,
Let's hear none.
so just, you mentioned that there was an increase or a slight increase in the number of commercial and single family. Just curiosity, what kind of scale of increase is it? Obviously, it's relatively small, but
It's pretty small. I think it was 8% or 8, not 8%, 8 in single family and 2 in customer or in commercial.
got it. So 10 new places. All right.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were 10 new places to build on the island.
There's some near me that are empty lots that have permits up on them.
Interesting. Any other questions, comments?
Well, one question for me, what's been the past couple of percentage increases? How does that compare historically? I'm just kind of curious.
I can take that one. This is pretty high compared to the last two. I think last year was 2.63%, and then the year prior to that was 1.7 something percentage, somewhere
Oh,
around
wow.
there.
Okay.
And I can take a stab at explaining that. It's just kind of following the inflation we're seeing lately
Oh,
as it relates to wage increases throughout our
okay.
city and neighboring cities. So
That's what's driving it.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I assume if this is for firefighters, excluding the chief, deputy chief, I mean, this is all driven by the CBA with the IAF, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Collective bargaining agreement. Gotcha. Okay. Took me a second to decode your acronyms.
I'm sorry, collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah.
CBA.
Gotcha.
The union contract.
Got it.
Any other comments, questions?
No.
Hearing none, does someone want to make a motion?
I move to approve the increase.
The increase recommended by staff?
Yep.
Okay. Member Corney has moved that the utility board agree with the recommendation of staff for a 5.43% increase across the board. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Member Majewski seconded the motion. Any discussion of the motion on the table? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Record should reflect that it is unanimous. Yeah, that was Ben. You got the easy one to first out of the gates. So welcome. Will we see you next month when we're going over the invariably slightly more complicated ones?
Absolutely. Wouldn't miss it for the world.
Very good. So I'm going to incorporate then into our discussion about the 2022 work plan, the contents of the email that Jason sent around. You want to address those issues, Jason?
Sure, I'll just summarize them real quick. So our team is working with the FCS group, which is the consultant that the utility board they presented to the utility board last year, who helps with our rate models. They are working behind the scenes feverishly to update the rate model scenarios. And they are working to present in the next month. And so unfortunately, the lead for the consultant team who would present this information to the utility board is actually away on our October 11th pre-scheduled utility board date. So I sent 3 dates out to the board ahead of time to try and have you check your calendars ahead of time so we can land a date to have a special meeting in October near the same time frame that the rates would actually be heard originally. And the goal tonight is to land that date tonight. And what I've heard for the most part is that all dates work except for one. And so it looks like we're leaning towards possibly October 12th as the preferred date. So it would the rate discussion would be stormwater, sewer, and water all in one evening. But what I would propose is that it looks like October 12th might be the preferred date to do it, assuming that still works for everybody.
I don't think I responded to your email, Jason, but the 12th hearing on the 14th. So the 13th was the one day that was really bad for me.
Chair O'Connell, you broke up when you were saying that, so the 12th does work for you?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, it does. And to clarify, that would be in lieu of the 11th. We would cancel the 11th date.
correct. So we'll post a notice saying we're canceling the October 11th date, and we'll post it for a special meeting on October 12th. It'll still be on the Zoom platform. We'll still plan on a 5 to 7 p.m. timeframe, but with doing all 3 rates in one evening, I would expect that we're probably going to be there for the solid 2 hours.
Can I float a suggestion? And this is just for discussion, but any interest in starting, like, say, at 4:30 rather than 5? Can everybody do that?
Yeah.
I mean, if that conflicts with work for anybody, just say so.
Sorry, at 4:30?
Because I think we're good, if we're doing all 3 of the, as I characterize them to Ben, slightly more interesting, slightly more complicated rates, if we're doing them all in one meeting, if we started at 4:30,
Yeah, that works for me.
We're less likely to be hangry by the end of it.
exactly.
Anything's possible.
Then I don't, we'll be virtual, so there's no one to distribute in a Snickers. So
Bring your own.
yeah.
My concern, Jason, I shared, that was the one of the 3 dates that does not work for me.
Oh,
So
it does not work for you. Okay.
I sent that over to you. So
My apologies. I missed that. I had a bunch coming in. So if October 12th worked for you, and then Will, you were the only one who didn't have a date that worked for you as well, correct?
Yeah. We're talking Wednesday, right? At 4:30? That Wednesday?
That would be, yeah, the 12th, but then now we're looking at the other 2 dates, which would be the,
Oh, okay. 11th or no?
No, not the 11th.
no, it'd be the,
the 13th.
The 5th or the 13th, and I'd really like to avoid the 13th.
I can do the 13th. That works just fine.
What about the 5th? Well,
Yeah, I can do the 5th at 4:30. I'll just make the 4:30, but yeah.
My calendar points out that the 5th is Yom Kippur. I think we moved the council meeting on the 4th to the 3rd because it starts on the 4th. I don't know if that's a concern for anybody.
good catch. We did do that. And if we can avoid that, we should be preferred.
I mean, not for necessarily for us, but if there were public attendees.
when's
So-
sundown?
It ends that evening.
I'm sorry.
I said technically it ends that evening, but after.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. When's sundown?
Yeah.
In all sincerity.
Oh, it's still pretty late.
Yeah.
It's after 5. Let's just say
6:44
that.
p.m.
Say again, Mel? Say again?
6:44 p.m.
Yeah, that's too late to start.
So do you guys go to the 12th then? And because
I really would prefer the 12th to the 13th. I've got a massive court hearing on the 13th.
If an absence is acceptable, like that's fine. I'll be sorry to miss it, but if I'm the only one, then you can move forward.
Well,
There's one other board member not present, right?
Correct. And she said that she actually responded ahead of her travel and said that all 3 dates worked for her. So I know that works. My apologies. Well, I had emails coming in from all over the board and I thought that really worked, but
No, I can do the 12th at 4:30. I can do, if that helps.
The 2 wills.
Oh, the other will.
Oh.
The other will.
we're gonna have to, you're William, he's
Yeah, there you
Will.
go. Yeah.
Steve is Steve and Stephen is Stephen. So,
we need some more diversity on this board.
the only diversity that counts, naming.
Yeah.
Well, it is a bit of a struggle. Um, I'm not being rude. I'm just checking my calendar over on my other screen here. But maybe I'm being rude, but I'm checking my calendar over on my other screen. Well, if the 13th is the only day that works for everybody, I'll try and change things around so that I can do the 13th.
Thumbs up from the rest of you. Does it work for the rest of you?
Everybody else?
Okay.
Yeah, 13th is fine.
Okay.
You still want to
So-
start 4:30 though?
Yeah, I mean, just so that we're done, so that we're certain we're done by 7, so that I can reread my briefs before going to bed.
Oh, actually, I have an appointment at 4 o'clock on the 13th. I'm sorry. But I'm not a voting member and I can watch later and catch up. I know you guys will do the right thing, so feel free to roll over that.
Would you mind, Lisa? It's just, like I say, the
Oh.
13th is a little problematic, so I really would prefer to start a little earlier rather than go late.
Yeah, no. I have a 4 o'clock appointment. If it's done by 5, I'll join you guys. If not,
Okay.
I'll watch it afterwards. And like I said, you don't need my vote or you don't need me for a quorum. So just so you know, I've been I've been a dedicated liaison and I will not be missing willingly.
And I will just add, it is customary for the chair or the vice chair from the board to speak in front of the council when the rates are presented in November, and we will still have that available to Chair O'Connell or Vice Chair Milton,
What,
their designee if they
do you
need
know that? Do you know the date for that?
it. We do. It's the second meeting in November. Second meeting date in November, which is going to be the 15th. Correct, Ben? I believe it's November 15th.
That's what I have.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I'll definitely plan on it. And that's why I was asking, if I get it in my calendar now, I can plan around it. Okay. So modifying the agenda, we have talked about the 2022 work plan. Were there any other comments about the work plan for the remainder of the year? The current
Yep.
work plan does talk about having a recess in November.
Correct. So the way it's programmed right now is we do have a recess in November. If for some reason we can't get through the rate discussion at that special meeting in October, then we have a fallback in early November, that's just slightly ahead of the council schedule that would go out for the packet. So we built ourselves a little buffer in there. Let's try not to use it if at all possible, but we have it if needed. And then we would pick up again in December, early December, to talk about, I believe we have the solid waste discussion and work plan for the following year, and something else is on the list too, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get to it real quick.
Draft the utility CIP.
Correct. Yep. No,
No, that's later. That's later. Yeah.
Yeah, the work plan has the 2023 work plan development, the water system plan update. So hopefully by that point in time, we'll have our final approval from DOH, and that's going to the council next meeting. So we should have that formally adopted by then. And then the King County or the solid waste update from ecology. They'll come and do their presentation, their annual presentation to the board regarding their collection.
And is there a rate adjustment in 2023 for them?
So recall on the Recology rate, it's tied to a couple different components. You have the King County solid waste rate, and then we have our contract rate, which is also tied to our recycling commodities. So we have that recycling adjustment mechanism, and so they collect our recyclables at different intervals throughout the course of the year, and they compare them to an index, and then based off of that index and where the commodities are at that point in time, it adjusts the rate accordingly based off of what we're getting for a recyclable product. And so we'll walk through that again in December. It's too early to tell what the rate will look like. I would suspect, just given the King County discussions taking place, I would expect a slight increase for next year. But again, it's TBD based off the recycling commodity in terms of how it offsets. So More to
No,
come.
so, Jason, I'm sorry. I was just asking if there will be an adjustment in 20.
Oh, yes, there will be some sort of an adjustment. What it is, I don't know yet. My apologies.
Right. I get it. Okay. All right. Well, that's a pretty good work plan, and I think I agree with you. It makes sense to reserve the November 8th date in the event that we need more time to talk about any of the three plans, particularly if there are going to be new rate models that we're looking at. That'll be very helpful. I
Yep.
guess, to follow up on the question that we put to Ben about the EMS, it would also be helpful, because I know sometimes we have done this and sometimes we have not, to include in that analysis some historical context. What have been the rate increases that we have been recommending? And I think it's fair to say the council usually goes along with a recommendation. So I think that would be a very interesting component to look at.
Agreed. Yeah.
We'll make that note, and Ben and I will work with the FCS group as on the presentation to make sure we do a look back at the mass rates that have been adopted.
Very good. Well, I think that's a great work plan, and I'll look forward to seeing everybody on the 13th. Anything else for the good of the order? No? All right. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the 13th.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.